The remote fell, and I just sat there. At 94, that shouldn't be a big deal. You drop things. It happens. But I didn't reach for it. I didn't even try. I just stared at it on the floor like it belonged to someone else, because I wasn't sure I could get back up. That's the part people don't talk about. It's not the falling. It's the getting back up that scares you. I used to move around this house without thinking. Kitchen, living room, porch, mailbox, just normal life. I never had to plan a step. Now I was sitting in my own chair in my own living room watching TV. I couldn't turn off because I didn't trust my legs to do something as simple as bend down and stand back up. And the worst part, this didn't happen overnight. My name is Maggie Collins. I'm 94, living alone in Toledo, Ohio. I've been on my own since my husband passed. For most of my life, I handled everything myself. Bills, groceries, fixing things around the house. After he died, nothing dramatic happened. No big breakdown. I just started doing less. I stopped cooking real meals. It was easier to heat something up in the microwave and eat it standing at the sink. I told myself it saved time. Truth is, I just didn't feel like standing that long. I stopped going out to the porch in the mornings. Then I stopped walking down the driveway to get the mail. Inside the house, I started holding on to things more. The edge of the counter, the back of a chair. At first it felt like being careful, then it just became normal. I kept telling my daughter I was fine. And technically, I was. I wasn't sick. I wasn't in pain. Except that everything was getting smaller. At first it felt like I was just being practical. Why walk all the way to the mailbox every day? It's not going anywhere. Why stand at the stove when the microwave works just fine? Little decisions. That's all they were. But they started adding up. By the time a year had gone by, getting out of a chair wasn't automatic anymore. I had to think about it, lean forward, push with my hands. Walking across the house got slower, like my body didn't trust itself anymore. So I adjusted. I started using the counter for support. The mailbox stayed at the end of the driveway longer and longer. Some days I'd notice it and just think, I'll get it tomorrow. Tomorrow turned into a habit. I didn't tell my daughter Susan any of this. Every time she asked, I said the same thing, I'm fine. But one afternoon, sitting in that same chair, I realized I hadn't stepped outside in days. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't want to deal with what it might feel like. That was the day Susan came by with groceries. She watched me stand up from the kitchen chair using both hands, the same way I'd been doing for months. To me, it was normal. To her, it wasn't. You always do that, she asked. Do what? I said, like I didn't know. She didn't argue. She just kept watching. The way I walked to the counter. The way I held on to it longer than necessary. A few days later, she called and said she'd made me an appointment with my doctor. The visit itself was uneventful. No emergency. No big diagnosis. The doctor asked me to walk across the room, sit down, stand up again, and, "You're not sick," he said, "but you're losing strength. And your balance isn't what it used to be. It means you're moving less than your body needs. I wasn't lazy. I had just adjusted. He didn't argue. He just wrote a referral for in-home physical therapy. A few days later, a woman named Rachel showed up at my door. She asked me to sit in my kitchen chair. Then she said, "Stand up." I did, with my hands. "You didn't lose your legs," she said. "You just stopped using them." She pointed at the chair and told me to sit down again. Then she said, "Now stand up, without using your hands." I tried, leaned forward, pushed through my legs. Nothing. I ended up using my hands like always. She didn't react, just wrote something down. "That's one," she said. "We'll fix it." Then she had me walk down my hallway. Slow, one step at a time. That's two. Next, she stood me by the kitchen counter. "Hold here," she said. "Lift one foot." I lifted it for maybe 2 seconds. That's 3. Then she had me stand still and slowly rise up onto my toes. That's 4. 4 small movements right there in my kitchen. "I'm not trying to make you stronger," she said. "I'm trying to make you use what you still have." The next morning I tried the first one again. Standing up without using my hands. Failed. Sat back down. Tried again. Failed again. I almost stopped right there. But I didn't. Some days I did all 4. Some days I did 2. Nothing about it felt impressive. But after a couple weeks, something small changed. I stood up once without thinking and realized I hadn't used my hands. A few days later, I walked to the porch. Then one afternoon, I walked all the way down the driveway and picked up my mail. I stood there longer than I needed to, just holding the mail in my hand. Not because it was heavy, because I knew what it meant. If there's one thing I understand now, it's this: aging doesn't take things from you all at once. You give them up one small choice at a time. I kept telling myself it was just age. That was the easiest explanation. But I wasn't just getting older, I was getting smaller. Getting older is something you don't control. Getting smaller is something you practice. You practice it every time you choose the easier option. Every time you say, "That's not worth it today." What I was actually doing was training my body to do less. And the body is very good at learning that lesson. It quietly removes those abilities like they were never important. Those 4 movements I started doing every day gave me something back. Not strength, control. The ability to trust that when I stand up, I'll stay up. I didn't fix my legs. I stopped quitting on them. I look at the remote on the floor now. I don't just stare at it anymore. I know I can reach for it. I know I can get back up. If you take anything from this, let it be simple. Pay attention to the small things you've started avoiding. Don't let the simple things disappear. Keep standing. Keep walking. Because staying independent isn't about being strong. It's about not giving up before your body does.